and say someone has just finished having an argument or a fight or something's going on like that, and they can shut right up where you don't actually hear one single word, but you know what was going down because you pick it up from the energy, right? And the same goes the other way when everybody's laughing or something, and then you walk in and they're not laughing anymore, but you can tell. Or people who are messing around. Hey, we pick up on that energy pretty quick, don't we? Where they're messing around and then you walk in, you're like, I know you're totally doing something. Hey, I totally know that you were. So isn't that funny how energy works? And it's the same through music, same through stories. I was listening to a thing or I don't know, maybe I was watching something, and they were talking about that, the power of telling a story. You know, back a long time ago, they didn't have TVs and everybody sat around the radio, right? And that was the big thing. You'd sit around the radio and you'd listen to a story, and they'd talk about the details. They'd talk about the feelings. They'd talk about what he saw, what he smelled, what he heard. You know, it's like the difference between a story in a movie or a story in a book, right? But you get caught right up into that moment, into that story, and it brings out that emotion. You can relate. You can relate to the teller of the story, whether it's first person or third person or whatever perspective it is. And that's why stories are so great. And that is why technology is not so great, because we're missing that, aren't we now? We're missing that quite often, where we're not necessarily telling the story. We're texting the story, or there are no stories, or we're waiting for the video, right? So we need to get back to that, you know, whether it be in our own family, in our community, in our groups. Telling the story, making it relatable, you know, very important. And again, it's a great positive energy exchange. So it's time for me to do the good news portion of the show. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different. It is, what day is it today? Do you know what day it is today? Today is November 14th. Wow, can't believe how time absolutely flies. So today is, or yesterday was World Kindness Day, although every day should be World Kindness Day. So this is an article from the Good News Network, and it is the 10 most amazing acts of kindness from the Good News Network that we're going to talk about on World Kindness Day. So these are great pick-me-up stories. Feel free to share them. And they were the most popular stories on the website that were shared throughout the year. From tales of compassionate celebrities to customer service reps who go above and beyond the call of duty. So, your favorite good deeds from 2017. Number 10. Teen boys filmed giving duvet to homeless man and tucking him in. The building's security camera captured Simon Wotek and Marcin in Nysa, Poland, tucking in a cold homeless man on a park bench with a duvet last winter. Can you believe that? That's amazing. Number 9. Customer admires Chick-fil-A. Must be an American. We don't have that here in Canada, I don't think. Customer admires Chick-fil-A employee so much, he built him a new home. Wow. Ever since Brian Smith met Shaquille Williams at Chick-fil-A, he couldn't help but feel inspired by the youth's kindness and disposition. So, as a gift to his beloved restaurant server, Brian built a house for the young man and his family. That is so awesome. Hey, wow. Talk about appreciation. Number 8, and you may have seen the video for this one online, because I know that I did. Humorous judge dismisses ridiculous ticket when woman parks 2 seconds early. A woman named Sarah had received a ticket for parking in a no parking zone with restrictions from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. When did the unlucky driver receive the ticket? At exactly 9:59 a.m., 2 seconds before the zone restrictions were up. Chuckling, the Providence, Rhode Island judge Frank Capiros could not stop joking about the frivolous penalty. What does justice demand in this case? Is it jail, he says? That is hilarious. Number 7. Woman changes homeless man's life after he stood on the same street corner for 3 years. Victor Hubbard had been standing on the same street corner waiting for his mother to return for the last 3 years. That is, until Ginger Jones Sprouse finally decided to step in and lend a hand. That is so cool. Number 6. Woman invites lonely widower to dinner date. He arrives with suit and flowers. Ellie Walker was heartbroken when she heard that Edwin Holmes would be spending Christmas Day alone, so she invited him to dinner over the holiday break. Then, when he showed up for the date, he arrived wearing his best suit and flowers in hand, reducing Ellie to tears. Isn't that sweet? Number 5. We talked about this one on the show here. Crowd hangs on to suicidal man for 2 hours until help arrives. During rush hour near Golders Green, North London in May, this man climbed over a bridge railing so he could leap to his death. But passers-by immediately rushed to grab him through the bars so he wouldn't be able to jump. Number 4. Air Canada pilot overhears distressed mom on plane, then drives her to the husband's bedside. In response to a family emergency, Antonella DeCinto boarded an Air Canada flight leaving from Toronto for Ottawa to see her husband, who had fallen into a coma while at a work conference. How terrifying, eh? Pilot Matthew Garetta was already flying the plane when he overheard the young mother talking on the phone. He offered to personally take me once he landed the flight to Ottawa General Hospital to be by my husband's side, she told Good News Network. Number 3. Guy sacrifices Tesla to save unconscious driver. Wow! Elon Musk offers to repair it. 41-year-old Manfred Kick was driving down the Autobahn, a federally controlled highway with no mandated speed limit, when he saw a Volkswagen swerving dangerously across the road. Curious, Manfred peered into the car's windows only to find that the driver had fallen unconscious against the steering wheel. Oh my gosh, what a story that is. I don't think we read that one, but I'm going to find it because that is, wow, I'd like to hear the rest of that. Number 2, plane passengers are left in awe of woman's kindness towards agitated boy with autism. Rochelle and Benzion Groner were on a plane back from chaperoning a trip to Israel on Friday, and the flight was expected to take 8 hours. After a 3-hour delay and 1 hour in the sky, many of the passengers were already exhausted. Then, a young boy with autism started having a meltdown. So, Rochelle told Good News Network she had only one thought: I gotta help this kid. And so what she did is she buckled down with the kid and she cuddled with him and helped him and talked him through it and really talked him down, no pun intended because they're on an airplane, but made him feel better. So absolutely awesome. And number 1, mall opens its doors for stray dogs during winter storm. Despite the heavy snow that pummeled Istanbul back in January, the city's stray dogs were safe and snug thanks to a generous local mall that opened its doors to the homeless pups. That is so cool. Now, you know, excuse me, in reflection, I'd like to share a little story myself. And I was thinking about it because the customer that helped the employee buy the new home, right? So this is pretty cool. So I used to be a fine dining server back a long time ago. And I didn't have a vehicle, and I had 3 kids and a sick partner. And so I was the sole provider for the home. And I worked at a hotel here in town. It was called the Canterbury Hotel. And then it got sold by my boss at that time, who was Martin Berger, who is passed now. Anybody who's been around here for a long time would know probably who that is. So Martin was my boss, and he sold the hotel to a group of individuals from all over the world, actually. There was like 6 gentlemen or something that bought it, and they ended up turning it into a Ramada hotel, and then I left. I went back to school and got my business diploma and da-da-da, and here I am today. Anyways, so I didn't have a vehicle. I was going through a really tough time in my life, and every day to get to work, because I work 6 nights a week, hey, what do you do? 3 kids, you know, they're hooked on food, got to feed them, right? So I would go in, and every day I would take a cab in. So I took a cab in because I didn't have a vehicle, And it was always easy to get a ride home, but not so easy to get there, right? Or, relying on other people and this and that. And I have to say, I'm a very good employee. I have integrity. I always show up. I'm, I don't know what we would call a company girl. I follow the rules, all that sort of stuff. So I was very liked by the coworkers, but I was also liked by the one owner that was local. So he used to come in all the time, and he was always there because he was like the local representative of these owners. And so he saw that I was taking a cab in every day. He also saw that, I was good at what I did, and the customers liked me, and they'd sit in my area, and I made really good tips. I made really good money. And in fine dining, you make bills for tips. You don't make change. So it was really good, and I'd worked my way up to being dining room supervisor. Then they would use me as manager on duty for the whole hotel when nobody else wanted to work. I was involved in managing the banquets. I was just really getting out there, and I loved it. I have a lot of drive, as you would know, if you follow any of the stuff I do, or maybe you're my friend, I don't know. Anyways, so the owner says to me one day, "You take a cab here every day?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "What does that cost you?" And I think it cost me like $15 because the hotel is it was at the edge of town then. Town has grown. And I have always lived in not when I was growing up, I lived in the North End, but as an adult, I've always lived in Central Sarnia, Mitten Village area, whatever. So it was like $15. So I said, "Oh, like $15. And he was like, "Wow, that's a lot." And I'm like, "Well, not really. That's a tip from a table of 4. It wasn't like a huge deal. And I needed to get there. It was non-negotiable. Take the bus for an hour or have a nice warm cab, pick me up at my door, bring me. I was still clean. I was a smoker. I could smoke like a fiend in the cab, all that other stuff. I say smoking and then I cough. Isn't that funny? Anyways, so he says to me, "Well, why don't you have a car?" I said, because I can't afford to buy one. I said, but I did find a $500 beater, and it was an old Impala, and I just met somebody who had said that they had this car. They would sell it to me. I had my 3 kids, so an Impala was a good size car for me. And I love that car. Anyway, so I remember saying to him that I just ran into somebody that was going to sell me a car, and he was going to let me make payments on it. So the gentleman says to me, "Well, if you start getting receipts for all your cab money," he says, "when you have $500 in receipts, I will buy you that car. I will give you the $500 back." And that's exactly what happened. And I worked so much, it didn't take that long. I put in extra shifts. I did all sorts of stuff. I might have even taken a cab home a few times and still kept those chits, is what we call them, but they're like these little things the cabs give out. They're not really receipts, but they are. So anyway, so he essentially bought me a car. And I don't think I've been without a car since then. So that's absolutely awesome. So my hard work paid off. And this gentleman, who I have no idea if he's even around or not, he bought me a car. He gave me $500 cash, and I went and I got the car. And it was an old Impala, but it owed me nothing, and it was absolutely awesome, and it was fantastic. So when you're doing good things come back to you, and you never know who's noticing the stuff that you're doing.